My name is Dan Brightwell. I'm the chairperson of the Southfield Veterans Commission. Today we are interviewing Mr. Carl R. Crosby for the Library of Congress Veteran History Project. We are in the Southfield Public Library in Southfield, Michigan. Today is November the 19th, 2008. Mr. Crosby, could you give us your full name, date of birth, and place of birth?
My name is Carl Raymond Crosby. I was born March the 5th, 1929 in Decatur, Illinois.
Okay. All right. Before you were drafted, what were you doing before you were drafted?
I worked for a lottery, well, it was more or less a gambling enterprise.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And how old were you when you were drafted?
I was 21.
21? Okay. All right. So you were in Decatur, Illinois when you were drafted?
In Decatur, Illinois, that's
okay.
correct.
Okay. So when you were drafted, where did you go?
I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get there? By bus or train? Or?
No, we left the morning of December the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
We left by train from Decatur, Illinois, and went to St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
And from St. Louis, we were processed in St. Louis,
Mm-hmm.
and then they took us by bus to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And so this was what month was this again? It was
December 1950.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 So doing basic, obviously this was in the dead of winter. What was basic training like, as you remember?
Basic training was, I'll tell you, basic training was hell. Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
See, I wore a 15 AAA.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went through supply, the supply sergeant, I'm 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
The supply sergeant gave me 28-32, 28 waist, 32 length.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, well, this, this is not right. Move out, soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So now, when we go to get the shoes, they didn't have my size. A 15 AAA is a very narrow foot.
Mm-hmm.
So the supply sergeant said, well, I'll tell you what you can do. And it started snowing that morning.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you can wear these civilian shoes and go out there in that snow, or else you can take this shoe, which is a half a size too small, and we will send to Boston and get you a special combat boot for your size.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't any easy decision to make. I wasn't going out there in that snow with these civilian shoes on, and I took that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had those shoes until I got ready to go overseas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the executive officer took me to supply. He said, we're going to turn this old pair in and get a new pair of combat boots. And I'll never forget, the officer in charge was a major named Dorn.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, he was issued 2 pair of combat boots. And if he gets another pair of combat boots, he'll have to pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I told that major, I said, if I pay for them, they'll be so hot to handle, you have to pass them from hand to hand to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
We left and went to the commanding officer,
Mm-hmm.
Butler,
Mm-hmm.
General Butler, and explained to him what the problem was. He said, give me the form, signed it, went back, and I got my combat boots.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you were out of basic by then, right?
Yeah, we out of basic.
Okay, you finally got some shoes that fit. Wow, okay. So, other than the shoe issue, what did you have any other adjustments to military life?
Yeah,
Well,
I told you I'm 6'5".
Right.
And so when we go to a processing company, the first thing the commanding officers came out and said, now I want all you soldiers to fall out with those fatigues bloused.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I said, sir, I cannot blouse my fatigues because they don't even come down to my boots.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I'll make an exception for you.
All right. So, how how long was your basic? 8 weeks?
No, 14.
14 weeks?
14 weeks.
Okay. What type of other adjustments did you have to make as far as, did you have homesickness? Was the food good or bad, or as far as in basic training, were you young enough to that exercise didn't bother you, or what? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was young, my father used to make me walk with exercise, and no matter how cold it was, he'd send me outside. My mother would like to have a fit. Well, it paid off when I went into service.
Okay.
It really paid off.
Okay, so you were in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I was in good shape.
Okay. Did you adjust to the food? Did you adjust from being away from home?
Yeah. Pardon my expression. The first thing I had to learn to adjust to was going to the latrine.
Oh.
I'm used to going into the, if I have to use the bathroom, go in the bathroom, close the door. Well, in the latrine, they had about 12 stools, and I wasn't accustomed to, here's somebody sitting next to you, somebody sitting next to you, and things like that. It may be funny to some people, but it was a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as far as the food was concerned, the first time I really pulled KP, we went in 5 o'clock that morning, and KP ended at 9:05 that evening.
You remember that?
Oh yeah, and I love ice cream, but I didn't want any ice cream that time. The supply sergeant said you can get all the ice cream you want. And see, in the Army they serve you what is, pardon the expression, they call shit on the shingle, which is that corned beef on toast.
Right, right.
Now, if you take that corned beef on toast and you have to go out on a rifle range, now you're going to march out on a rifle range. Well, you said that doesn't last long.
Sure.
And see, they always take whoever, the guys that walked out, that worked in the pits out on the range, they always got a ride.
Oh.
And then they were out there in the sea. I could see the fallacy in a lot of things, you know. Some of the guys, you know, you're supposed to mark scores. And some of the guys would be too lazy to get up mark scores. They said, give him Maggie's drawers. You know, when they gave him Maggie's drawers, he didn't hit nothing there.
Okay. All right. All right.
But see, now, when I went into the Army at Fort Leonard Wood, this is in 1950, we had a Southern colonel come over and said, some of you boys, now you're all men when you're drafted in the Army, some of you boys will go to Fort Leonard Wood and some of you go to Camp Rucker, Alabama. And they put us in. Army was not, it was supposed to be desegregated, but it wasn't. We had 2 white platoons and 2 black platoons when we went to the thing. And we had a little colonel named, a little captain named Captain Watkins. And when you went out on a speed march, the 1st platoon led you out, and the 4th platoon brought you back in. Now, Captain Watkins was only about 5'6". He led us out, and we brought him back in. He said, listen, will you take a 45-inch stride? And we was right on his tail coming back in. And that company that I was in, the 68th Medium Tank Battalion, one morning, the colonel, regimental commander, colonel came down and he said, this company has more